and today we'll be interviewing the incredible Amy, a Caltech chemical engineering graduate and a widely recognized inspirational YouTuber. Amy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're currently working on?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. And as mentioned, I am a graduate from Caltech, where I studied chemical engineering. I actually graduated in summer of 2021. And right after my undergrad, I pivoted to business, where I worked as a business analyst at a boutique consulting firm in Los Angeles. I worked there for about 1 year and 9 months until moving to New York, where I'm helping now at an AI startup on the marketing and product strategy side. But a huge part has also been content creation on YouTube, helping students like you all today and in general people from all over the world who want to do better in self-improvement.
Perfect. That's amazing. We love that. We wanted to ask more questions about like you switching from like chemical, the engineering side to the business side. So we love that you elaborated on that. So
Mhm.
our first question is, can you delve deeper into what chemical engineering at Caltech was like and what you learned there?
Chemical engineering at Caltech is actually the major that requires the most courses or credits. So in that way, it was pretty restricting and time consuming, where we had not only difficult classes, but many of them. So it was probably like my whole chemical engineering and Caltech experience was one of the hardest experiences, if not the hardest in my life, where I think most of the lessons came from how, since we survived that experience, that anything in life we can tackle now because we've already done the quote unquote impossible of the late nights of not being able to figure out problems at all. That now we think we can really do anything in work because work is not going to be nearly as hard as Caltech is kind of our perspective on that.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you talked about how like difficult chemical engineering is at Caltech. So do you have any advice for young girls who want to pursue STEM, maybe chemical engineering itself?
For girls who want to pursue STEM, it's really important to get the foundations down. So, to not only have the genuine passion for figuring out problems and like puzzles from that young age, but to also make sure we do have a thorough grasp and understanding of, first of all, math. And in math, we want to know that we're understanding the root of the formulas and things like that, because math is going to be the foundation for any STEM field later, like physics, chemistry, because we can take that mindset of understanding to learning chemistry and learning physics. Since once you understand how things work in chemistry, then we can keep doing other problems. And that's the amazing thing about STEM that's different from history or psychology, for example, where once we kind of make those connections between different concepts and different things in our real world, then we can build something new out of that or potentially solve problems that we haven't seen specifically before.
We wanted to ask, what classes did you take at Caltech related or unrelated to chemical engineering?
Thermodynamics or transport phenomena. We actually had to take organic chemistry too, which is crazy. We took that whole year, whereas biology students, like they only had to take like 2 quarters or something for like biological engineering. So we also had to take complex mathematics. I forgot the exact term of it, but we also had to take physics, basically all of the courses where you think that are outside of chemical engineering, we have to do that too. And physical chemistry was really hard as well. A lot of the work at Caltech is very theoretical. And so other advice that I would give to people considering Caltech, or also just going back to advice for girls going into STEM in general, is that it's really important and valuable to have a community and a supportive group of friends who also enjoy STEM, because it would be really, really hard, like I think impossible to survive Caltech without that support network.
I think we can see that also in just like high school, just taking like so many difficult classes without like our group of friends. It's hard to kind of be motivated to
Mhm.
keep doing well.
Yeah.
What's one moment that you vividly remember from one of your Caltech classes?
My freshman year of taking physics, because physics is my hardest class, my hardest subject. And I just remember how we had a, I think, 6 hour final. And I felt like it was just going to be struggle. And I was okay with getting B's before coming to Caltech. But in that moment, I actually felt like because of the way that my mind was stretched just in that first freshman year, that my mind was already at a higher level than before, such that I could figure out those physics problems. And so it was really rewarding to be able to reach that next level. And it's really hard to describe, but it's like my mind was just so much smarter than before. And it's funny now that I'm out of school and now I'm like, I'm way dumber than I was at Caltech because I'm like, how did I do that? But I think it was just a moment of realizing how much Caltech has made me smarter, quote unquote.
No, yeah, I think we definitely relate. I know that Caltech physics is like so much more difficult than our schools, but we took AP physics together last year, and it was like
I think the hardest class that I've ever for physics for some reason, like
Mhm.
it never clicked for me.
Yeah, same. It's not something that I really understand intuitively, which I hoped it would be since my parents are both electrical engineers and I'm good at math.
Can you tell us a little bit about the research you did in labs at Caltech?
hmm So I only worked in Dr. Frances Arnold's lab. She was, I believe, the 2019 Nobel Prize laureate in chemistry. That was really incredible because when I cold emailed some professors, then like she was one of the few who answered me, and I was like, she's like, wow, the best. And I worked on directed evolution. So her lab basically works on how we can kind of control, in a sense, the evolution of certain cells to select for the things that we want them to perhaps find that they have genes that might be helpful to curing cancer, and then be propagating those genes continuously and making that concentration higher. So I worked a lot in the wet lab doing things like pipetting, cell culturing, spinning down the cells and measuring concentrations, things like that. And it was overall a very rewarding experience because I've never done a lot of wet lab before. But at the same time, when going into research, I didn't know anything what I was doing. So what's most important is to have that beginner's mindset and be willing to just learn and take notes and to struggle, because I was really scared to mess things up since it was like a good opportunity and I was just a scrub. But that's to say, like, when I saw people going into research, I would be like, they already know everything that they're doing, but that's not true. So don't be worried if you want to have some cool opportunity, but you don't know how to do anything yet.
Yeah, I definitely think, I mean, I do research on like a smaller level, but I did do a paper on like gene therapy, and I thought it was really cool. We did it on like Cas9 proteins and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought it was really cool that, oh, I didn't know how to write a research paper. So I was just asking my director so many questions. And I was like, if I can do this, I can do other things. So yeah, it's that just that push.
Yeah, for sure. I think we really forget that when we're as kids, we see that adults, they can do so many things, but they also had to start from zero. And it's just that first time that's really hard, but it'll get easier.
So our next question is, can you tell us about some of your internships?
My freshman year, like summer after freshman year, was at a large defense company. And then the same company I interned at was for after sophomore year. The first year was kind of a general technical intern where I did some Excel things and technical writing. And then the next one was going to be more in software. Even though I was in chemical engineering, I could still code in Python. So that was helpful. And the reason I got those two internships was actually because I won a scholarship, a Rocky Mountain scholarship in my state, where then they kind of already guarantee those two first internships, or they require you to intern there for the 2 summers. So that's why I could get those pretty easily, even as a freshman, because I know it's really hard to get internships as a freshman. But the one after junior year was when I was like, okay, I should really try things that relate to chemical engineering because that's my intended route, like once I graduate. So I interned at a kind of a startup vibe gene therapy a company, but they were acquired by a large company called Novartis. So it kind of had the resources behind that, but it was still kind of like a startup. And there I did a lot more wet lab operations, also like pipetting and then putting the machines in their right places to run experiments. And that's also where I proactively created a VBA program to help their data and analysis be easier. So one lesson there is like always be proactively seeing ways you can improve the systems that are already there. Just because you're an intern doesn't mean you only have to do what they tell you to.
That sounds amazing. So you definitely talked about a lot about like chemical engineering and the STEM side. So what inspired you to make the switch into the business industry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny because in that last internship that I talked about at the gene therapy company, my now fiance, I met him there, and he did chemical engineering. So when we were talking, he said, "Oh, you should not go into this job after you graduate. You should do consulting because that's what I wish I did." So when I heard that, I was like, he probably knows what he's talking about because he was in my same shoes. So kind of last minute, honestly, I decided to try recruiting for consulting. And this was last minute because the big companies like McKinsey, Bain, BCG, they've already finished their recruiting season. And for consulting, you have to prepare a lot for casing. So I just doubled down on really trying to get that kind of last minute. And luckily I secured one. And the reason I was happy to do this in the first place was because I knew eventually I wanted to go into management and leadership positions. I knew I didn't want to be just doing the operations all my life. Even though my parents are really good at it, I felt like it didn't suit my personality. And that's why I was already thinking about the MBA, the Masters of Business. And basically, I think that consulting was a great stepping stone to whatever new career would come after that, since it's essentially gives you exposure to different industries and is supposed to build your consulting toolkit to be good with soft skills in any new job.
That's amazing. I actually want to go into management and I want to do that. So it's cool that I have like kind of a foundation from you, like how you got there, so I can maybe
Mm.
follow that.
Yeah, and it gets you there faster than climbing the ladder from engineering, because engineering you have to do that a lot, and then you also get hit with a ceiling if you don't have a PhD. But if you go into consulting, it's like you skipped a bunch of levels and you can go directly pivoting into management at a different company.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your job as a business analyst that serves Fortune 500 companies?
This boutique consulting firm based in Los Angeles was created by people who left McKinsey actually because they wanted to start a different kind of firm. But to say the least, consulting is still consulting. So it's still time consuming. It's more than 40 hours a week. And I was on projects involving strategy for implementation and also a lot of due diligence. So helping private equity firms evaluate potential targets to invest in or acquire, or not acquire, but to invest in. And some of my biggest lessons there, or what I learned, is especially on the implementation project, I had a lot of touch points actually with the client. So that was an incredibly valuable experience being someone as junior as I was, but having those interactions with the client and them trusting me going back and forth with them just really accelerated my ability to interact with others and take charge of an entire like 2 work streams. So I learned about how to convey things to people in more understandable ways, how to structure not only my written communication, but my verbal communication as well. And I think that when in engineering, I kind of underestimated the power of soft skills. So this is what really helps me in the future for whatever I hope to do in leadership or management. And then it's really helped me in my YouTube video creation process as well.
Actually goes into our next question. What got you interested in content creation? How did you find like your content niche?
Oh, yeah. So for me, I didn't set out being a content creator. It was like I had ideas and something I wanted to share, and YouTube just became the tool that allowed me to do that. For that reason, I think that that's also why I find it really fun and not something I would burn out of, because the core purpose is to share that information instead of just I want to be an influencer or creator, you know. So I started because I this is actually not my first channel. I actually did singing with my sister before because we love to sing. And when in 2020, in February, I was thinking this ever since the beginning of Caltech, but I was like, Caltech is so unique. Nobody knows how amazing it is because it's a tiny school, fewer than 1,000 undergrad, but we have a house system that's like Hogwarts. And like there are so many day in the life of a Stanford student, day in the life of an MIT student, but no Caltech one, which I could understand because the school was really hard already. But I just decided spontaneously that I'm gonna be that vlogger. So I vlogged for an entire week. Then a month later, COVID hit, and my vlogs became more valuable than ever for the potential students who had got into Caltech, but they can't visit campuses anymore. And once I posted them, I got really positive feedback. I found that super fulfilling that in this day and age, we can harness the power of the internet to reach people who need our experiences, who need to hear what we have to say. So I just found that was an incredible way that I had to continue connecting with people and helping students like I continue to today.
Yeah, definitely. Your videos during COVID, I would watch them just to be like, how do I time manage? Because I was like a little eighth grader and I was like, I have all this work and it's all in line. And it helped me so much. Like, I can't express how much your videos have like changed how I study and how I like. So I want to thank you for that. But then,
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for letting me know. Sometimes you forget that because everyone shows up as like a username or like a number. It's hard to remember sometimes of the actual impact on someone. So thank you for that.
no,
And
yeah.
also, like, I just want to add, when I saw, I think one particular video, you talked about your physics journey, like, when you talked about like a boat problem, and
Yeah.
like that video resonated with me so much because physics was the first time I hit like a math block, and I was
Mhm.
like, why can't I do this? So when I saw like I like related to your video, and after that I felt like more empowered myself to like really dig deep into like the concepts behind physics and figure it out
Yeah.
and kind of like go for it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And that's really why I like to talk about my struggles as well, because if people just think that it came easy to me, then there's no way that they will want to put in the hard work. Because if it was easy for them, then why should I even try, you know? But to know that the things I get to work because of hard work encourages more people to do the hard things because learning is hard, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah. So how do you manage your time with research, university, and successful content creation and social life?
Yeah. I think that if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I would be able to manage my content on campus because I love going to events. I love going to the fun parties that our houses put on and going to explore LA. So it was really because of COVID and more time at home that I was able to make more videos. But really balancing school and research and basketball when I was on campus was because I think that I really set schedules with my friends. So on the first day of classes, I would be the one to create the group chat and be like, okay, every Tuesday, let's work on this together. So when Tuesday comes, we are almost guaranteed that we are going to have that work done before the due date of Thursday. So it's not stressful and we're all working on it together and it's more fun also. So it just creates that kind of structure to follow. And along with basketball, because I had to be in a relatively good physical state, I still tried to get an average of 7 hours of sleep in college. So not as much as in high school, but I made sure that I I had to prioritize myself. So it's hard to say no. I get FOMO a lot, but even when friends are staying up talking, I would often be the first one to be like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep now. And I think that that's a main part. Like you just have to put your foot down and set boundaries. So that's kind of how I brought those skills into time management, even now with so many other pursuits along with content creation on YouTube.
I think taking an initiative is something that a lot of women that we've interviewed said like is the biggest thing. Like they do everything first and it's not like not letting other people, but rather trying to push everyone to make sure something is done. So yeah.
Yeah.
We wanted to ask, who are some inspirational women in leadership and STEM that you look up to?
First of all, Dr. Frances Arnold, since I worked under her, and essentially my mentor in that lab as well, because she was just so genuinely fascinated by the science behind everything, where she can run experiments hundreds and hundreds of times and not get tired of it. I look up to that dedication and that passion in that area, because even though I am not specifically interested in pursuing a PhD or running experiments over and over again, that these kinds of characteristics and the kind of attitude are still valuable across anything we do. And I think that everyone has to find that kind of passion that they'll just do happily, no matter what. And even on the hard days, they're going to go do it because they believe in it so much. And as far as leadership, I love reading Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. And I just really resonated with some of her struggles internally of what she was doing as a lawyer and how she was actually impacting the world positively. And it was amazing that even in a really nice position, as the wife of the president, she was going out to initiate her own things and being her own girl boss to, help the students, the schools across America have more nutritious lunches. And I think that that kind of ability to always be looking for ways you can improve the world around you, even when you're not asked to, that's something that I really look up to.
Since you've been part of so many different industries, from like engineering, business, what skills do you think are common but crucial to grow within all of the industries in general?
I think a common theme that's come up is the power of communication and just talking with other people. So no matter where it is, I think that much of my success, even starting from the young age in high school, even middle school, is that I love talking and learning from other people, because sometimes in a conversation, I would ask one more question, and that answer that, or the conversation that comes after that question, would make all the difference to what I decide to do. Like if I ask one question, someone suddenly mentions a class and I'm like, wait, that's actually a perfect class to take, or that's a perfect tip that I didn't know. It's like, you don't know what you don't know. And to try and get more knowledge, because knowledge is power, you just really have to talk more and ask, because we have one life where we can make 3 mistakes and then we learn at that pace. But if you have 2 friends where you learn 2 mistakes from, then you can accelerate your learning and progression 3 times as fast in this single life that we have. So that's just one huge thing I think that has been helpful. But regardless of the industry, our grit to solve problems, no matter how hard they might seem, and that resourcefulness have been extremely helpful for anything I'm doing. And in YouTube, it's really hard to navigate it on your own. But I think because of that constant grit that I had developed from a young age, and that it's really learnable though. So we should really be able to know that we can have a growth mindset to develop grit. But that's really what kept me going, even when it was really hard to make content, because starting from zero and having no one watch your videos when you have put in hours and hours of work is really hard to deal with on your own.
I relate to you talking about how your friends can help you so much, like their mistakes can help you accelerate your own learning, because me and Harshita we're doing this competition called DECA. It's a business competition for high school. And I was kind of set on a category, like I was like, this is it. And I had like a 2-hour conversation with one of our friends who has competed before. And it was one sentence that she said that just changed the category that I was doing for the competition, because I was like, oh, wait, this other category is perfect for what the knowledge base that I have. And I never would have gotten to that statement had I not continuously kind of kept on pressing on different points in the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's happened so many times for me, where like I wish I could think of more concrete examples, but it's just so important to ask questions and to really absorb what the other person is saying,
Yeah, I feel like our friends introduce us to different things. Because definitely, like, if you take DECA too, like, I wasn't supposed to do DECA. Like, my friend was like, you should just do it for fun. I was like, okay, I guess I'll and see where it goes. So I feel like that experience taught me a lot. And that applies to so many different things. So it's really good to have a large basis of people that you know and can talk to and continue like pressure, I guess, to ask questions.
Yeah. I think people talk about networking a lot, like, oh, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. But I think we need to go back to the genuine reason behind that, where it's we want to learn from other people and mutually benefit each other. And it's not just a LinkedIn connection or a follow somewhere, right? It's like to actually generate those conversations.
So, do you have any other advice that you'd like to share with our uEmpower audience?
Sure. So from a young age, I thought that the typical path would be, I'm just gonna be good at math, do engineering, and stick with that. But so many things come throughout your life where you might feel kind of like, I think it's like a rude awakening of like, wait, is this the way life is supposed to be? Wasn't I supposed to stay on this path? But life can change. You can develop new interests or new passions. And we tend to fall into the sunk cost fallacy where I was really hesitant to leave chemical engineering. But I think that we want to think about what we can gain and not what we lost. Since at least for me, from Asian American background, from an immigrant family, we have a really like kind of scarcity mindset where we would try to save money a lot, right? But even me now, like just kind of betting on myself with YouTube and spending money for things I know will help my channel, that's something that I never imagined I would do. And it's because of the mindset where I'm not thinking about the money I lost, but I'm thinking about what I gain from spending that money or spending that time and energy. So I think that's one big thing that I didn't really realize because I never imagined, honestly, as a high schooler that I would be doing what I do today. And that's just to show that keep reflecting and don't be worried if things change in life, because they will, but that's what makes life fun and amazing. So that's one of the biggest things.
I resonate a lot with what you said because coming from also Asian American background, I've always felt like math and like engineering is the way to go. Both of my parents, they work in tech, and my dad, he was an engineering major, like my mom was a biology major. So I've always been like, oh, STEM is the way to go. But in the last year, I've gotten really interested in marketing and like social media and digital marketing and like how all of that works. And it's been like a switch, and also just thinking like, oh, I'm not focusing on STEM anymore.
Yeah, for sure. It was really an existential crisis for me for the longest time. Honestly, it's still an existential crisis sometimes, but it's just to, again, like surround yourself with people kind of taking the leap with you. Like once I moved to New York, I met other entrepreneurial people, and especially Asians who have kind of cut against the grain. And that's been inspiring to know that I'm not in this alone.
No, yeah, I feel like that's a universal kind of immigrant parent experience. Because I feel like, because I always thought I would be a doctor, like until now. Then for the last like few, I guess like last year, I was like, I really like management. I like talking and I like to hold operations and stuff like that. So I was leaning toward business management. But now I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. So it's like a little confusing.
Yeah, it's really honestly a struggle to expect high schoolers to pursue one path in order to get into that good college and then go down that path. It's just not a good system. And because that system is in place, I think it's important to hear from others about their journey, that it's okay if they don't follow that system, because we just internalize that there's a right and a wrong, and if we're not doing the right thing, it's like there's something wrong with us. So that's what I think. And also with all the ambitious people in your community of uEmpower and with you two, I think that something really important is also to realize no matter what we do, what backs us up to be able to succeed is that dedication and that work ethic. So it's really okay if we don't do STEM, because we can still excel in other areas as long as we have that consistent work ethic. That's always going to be a part of us, and we don't have to stay in those stereotypes. We are good at math because we work hard, which means that we can be good at other things also because we work hard.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you talking to us and sharing your knowledge and your experience with us, and just thank you for being here. Thank you for mentoring our uEmpower community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Harshita and Aadya. Okay, thank you so much to you too.